I'd forgotten how to build tanks, assuming I ever knew at all. Hello everyone who's ever accidentally, on purpose, driven your boat over land, and oh boy, I am so glad about rubber and custom props. I'm BorderWise, and welcome back to From the Depths. This is part 2 of the Pale Fleet review. There's going to be multiple parts to this, as evidenced by there being more than one. Same recording as last time, split into 2. Hopefully that's not confusing. Let's carry straight on with the fleet review, shall we? Let's go! To infinity and beyond, into the trees. Right. So, moving on. Oh, here is Snowman Gary. So, Snowman Gary was the biggest, well, certainly the most expensive thing in the campaign, and this effectively ended up serving as a capital ship after the failure of a prototype that never really made it into active service, called the Avalanche. We'll talk about that next time, because by the looks of it, this is going to be one video. Gary is actually a successor to a much older design, because I remember when I played through Wood Canoe Neater, this was streams ages ago, it was the second time I beat Neater, just on regular difficulty before anyone gets excited. Where is it? New Canoe Connection, there we go, where's Gary? Aha! So, Snowman Gary was a successor to this fella, which was a front-siding cram monitor. Damn, this thing looks old. I think this thing was made before decorations were... Please do not collide with Snowman Gary. I swear to God, you absolute bloody morons. I hate the eye on front of this. Anyway, so Gary had a huge missile and a cram cannon, and just did sterling service in my second playthrough of Neater. Possibly a lot of stuff to change. This thing probably hasn't aged well. The Cram Tetris is something frightful. I think that's just 2D Tetris in there. Is it? Yep, it is. This was actually before I really believed in 3D Tetris at all, because I didn't know how to do it. But yeah, so Snowman Gary was like a much bigger, like a bigger and meaner version for the Pale Fleet. And Gary did very well. This is a craft that, again, it's specialized. So, without even really meaning to in Steel Sovereigns, I ended up making, like, a lot of quite specialized craft. This is a front-siding hydrofoil, which is a very rare sight, actually. I don't really see... I can't think of anyone else who's built one, but it is a front-siding cram hydrofoil. So, what is a 400k thing that is here? Spawn this against the anvil. The anvil probably will murder us, but, like, you never know. Because the anvil has very strong mortars. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. So the secret to Gary is double cram turrets, nice and redundant. And, wow, there's no way we managed to hit with those. We bloody well did. Let's see, where these go? Oh, they're missing. Oh, so actually one of the best ways to avoid or evade mortars is to be a front-sider that kind of shimmies forward and backward a bit. So there is that. And Gary also strafes sideways. So you see these side props? Those are for strafing. So the thing's actually doing pretty damn well. We might actually beat the anvil. So yeah, large volley, and by the way, I've said this multiple times, but the missile deco, I don't get credit for that. I stole that, borrowed it, off one of Azusa's, one of my patrons' airships called the Arrow. I did a Weird and Wonderful on the Arrow some time ago. I should probably link to that, honestly, now that I've mentioned it. Them's the rules. And, yep, I did. So, Gary's crams, by the way, are mostly heat and century. So, another definite improvement on the original Gary is... Okay, you've won. Gary, have mercy, you've won. 3D Tetris, proper 6-connection 3D Tetris. Let's see, what is the mix? What's the cake mix here? So, it's Hardener, HE, EMP, a smidge of EMP, and Incendiary. So, these crams, they hurt a lot. They're not the biggest and meanest crams in the world. But they do the trick, especially the second one, which has about 74,000 health per shell and just does a whole lot of damage. Very strong crams, or at least for the size. And what really steals the show is this large missile volley back here. So what do we got here? We got a mixture, we got reinforced bodies, so they're difficult to shoot down. We got EMP, and we got explosive. That usual combo works in most situations. like HE, EMP, Conqueror, signal processor. Again, nothing amazing, nothing groundbreaking. You'll notice that this large missile hatch is a little different. In Gary's construction, I realized, oh damn it, I didn't leave room for like a proper decoy. So here it is. I kind of snuck this in there, squeezed it in here, and this is the decoy. Radar's target simulator and sticky flares. If nothing else, like Gary kind of demonstrates, although the Grey Talons demonstrated that long ago, is that you don't necessarily need lambs to make a good frontsider. This thing doesn't have lambs. In fact, it really only has like token anti-air defense. My next iteration of Gary, whenever that is going to probably have a laser on it. Because, like, yeah, these little anti-aircraft missiles are actually the same kind, roughly, that is on the snowboarder. It just is lacking. These ones are currently lacking the proximity fuse, which would probably make them a lot more effective. But more importantly, on top of Gary here is Diff Seawiz. So I realized, like, very early on that, like, this thing is made almost entirely out of alloy, by the way. I don't think there's any wood on here. Let's just check here. Let's see. There is wood on here. There's also heavy armor. Like, again, Gary was made late-ish, I guess midway through the Steel Sovereigns, or maybe a little bit later, to the point where I realized, yeah, no. You can't just build in alloy and wood forever. Like the other materials exist actually for good reason. They have a job to do. And as a front-sider, you do need as much toughness as you can get. So, speaking of, there's a lot of wedges in here. And this is before I learned that, like, what's even better than these 4-meter wedges is these 5-meter long, 4-meter offsets. It's like an alloy 5-meter slope that offsets 4-meter slopes, because these have more health and they've even steeper anglage and also lower block count. Also, herpy-derp, these things are not backed. I've just realized if you actually want to do this, what you should do is you should have a layer of 4-meter wedges or 4-meter offset blocks, and then double layer of beams behind them so you get that nice armor stacking bonus. And because that just helps with, like, fragments or heat or hash or anything like that. These things are actually kind of weak. But it did the trick, that's for sure. APS had a lot of trouble getting through here. And we've got this nice empty space in here. And honestly, the internal wood probably really helped keep Gary's cost down. In fact, there's a lot more wood in this than I remember. Jeez. There's also a hole here. Oh no. Did I seriously just leave a frickin' hole in here? I think I did. So yeah, Diff Seawiz, this thing eats cram volleys quite nicely. You saw that with the anvil, but yeah. No lambs though, it's got missile interceptors mounted back here. I am very fond these days of just mounting missile interceptors on spin blocks, because mounting them on a turret means putting them in a spot where the turret can rotate properly. We don't like that around here. But if you put them pointing roughly in the direction that the craft will be aiming anyway, and at a slight up angle, they actually do a pretty decent job. So yeah, there is that. And we've got little pitch control here, just things all over the place. Very much a similar style to the Frost and the Icicle, which we'll get to later, which is all the main propulsion is above the water, just in case the thing beaches itself, which does happen. Oh, and one last thing, this thing has shields down here. Very improvised shields, honestly. This is probably not... Here's my problem with shield projectors. I always forget about them until I actually need them. And they're touching heavy armor, which is very silly, but they're also touching wood. So EMP doesn't go for them directly. And also, this was at the point where I'm using, like, poles in, like, deck armor and also in underhull armor, because it's, again, block filler, so to speak, like an slightly better than, like, just not having it at all, I suppose. But yeah, honestly, beam slopes are like, I don't know, there's still debate in the community. Like Melchior, who did the new upgraded bulwark, swears by poles, or at least crosshatch poles, and I've still forgotten to test this. So these things seem to do the trick. They're a nice compromise between being, you know, an air gap filler of sorts, but also having more health than a 4-meter beam. You can argue about it in the comments if you want. So it's like, so we've got roughly over 1,000 health for an alloy beam, but considerably less than 1,000 health for a beam slope. So I don't know. I'm not sure anymore. Next version of Gary will definitely be different. So that is Snowman Gary. Oh, did I mention the face? He's got a face. He's got a face. It's a very friendly face. He is coming for you, though, so you better have milk and cookies ready. What is this? Santa Claus in little token eyes on the turret, and probably one of the better superstructures I've ever made. Like, just saying that. Also, by the way, just in case anyone's wondering, the glass trick. So, the glass out here is painted. The glass inside is not. In fact, you could deco this if you wanted to, because from the depths will only render one glass texture at a time if you're looking at it from one way. So, one layer of glass is like that, but 2 layers, it's whatever layers in front of you, that is what is rendered. So, you effectively have one-way glass by doing that, which is a very handy decoration trick, which I figured out all by myself, by accident one day. Alright, enough about Snowman Gary. Jeez, this video is long, and I apologize. Alright, so what do we got here? So we got the Frostdrake. This is a mixed success. This is, again, I actually made the Husky after this fella. I was thinking like, alright, damn it, we need something that can fly over land and kill tanks. And honestly, this is one of the better looking airships I've made. It's just its combat performance is like average. Not bad, but not good either. And mostly because it lacks firepower here. It's got these 2 tiny little... I do get a pat on the back for actually like making a railgun hybrid, because I keep forgetting railguns are so bloody good in this game. So we've got 36mm API Super Cav, so we've got this little armor-piercing incendiary round, and all the incendiary does, there's no fuel on this basically, all it does is weaken the armor so you do more kinetic damage. That's it. And it's got shaped heat charge just in there for backup. And then it's the same thing, but like invisible tracer. So this is a good combo, Super Cav and Tracer, because this thing was just meant to be a nice generalist, because at this point in Steel Sovereigns, I was aware that, like, you know, specialized craft are very good, but you do need the occasional generalist right there. So this thing theoretically can deal with aircraft, it can deal with tanks, it can deal with ships, it can deal with submarines, but like a true generalist, it doesn't do any of those things spectacularly well. So, where's the... how expensive is this? 90. So let's sport in the Claymore. How expensive is the Claymore? So we've got these lovely, nice tracers. How is this thing hard again? I forget. But anyway, so the whole idea is like, wow, that's actually doing a real number. I'm so used to seeing the Frostdrake shooting at things made out of heavy armor that I forget they can actually tear through metal pretty well. And another problem with this is that this is not as evasive as other airships I have made. Although it does bounce up and down quite nicely. Never mind, it's pretty evasive. It does tend to get murdered a fair amount. So yeah, the thing is just designed to like be better at dealing with armored targets than what did I have before? Probably the Icewinds. But it was designed to be cheaper and more economical than the Icewinds, which it is. It's actually doing great against Onyx Watchcraft. My goodness, it's really doing. How much? Yeah. So this is what Incendiary is good for. It just kind of tears, just weakens armor while simultaneously tearing it to pieces. Works decently well. No way we AI did that thing. Oh no, we didn't. This thing is just using belt loaders. Also, this is a very recent change here to set the combat distance to 0. This was originally set to, like, a considerable distance, and it didn't work very well. Just because, like, the thing tended to get too far away and too inaccurate. So, I'm actually fine with this being essentially a close-range brawler. Biggest weakness of this thing is, like, that again, spin block decoy on here, similar to what the Frost has. Very effective, in fact better than the Frost because it's shaped differently. Missiles tend to fly in between these 2 horns, so to speak. Biggest weakness is this is its sole means of propulsion. It's that that propeller on a spin block. No redundant propulsion means that if that gets blown off, the thing can't move. And there's multiple fights in which a Frostdrake kind of got... Oh, that almost happened. Where a Frostdrake essentially got disabled because the main rotor was blown off. It is very maneuverable though. So yeah, that's probably biggest weakness. If I was ever going to do this again, probably make a bigger version, like, you know, something with a little bit more redundancy, probably more interceptors. That interceptor turret right there is such a last minute panic, like, oh crap, Oh, crappity croopity crappity croopity. That's not good. Another thing is that I wanted the Frostdrake to be cheap, and that's why there's actually a fair amount of wood in the armor here. So again, I wouldn't make armor like this now. I've learned that like you want 2 layers of beams and then your air gap filler, ideally, unless you're using heavy armor beams, which like is your citadel layer, your last line of defense, so to speak. That seems to work pretty well, but this thing was reasonably cheap. It could take a pretty decent beating. So again, it's not my best craft, not by a long shot. We'll get to the best craft of this campaign in a hot minute. But anyway, yeah, that is the Frostdrake. I do like the fake cockpit on the front there. I think it's quite charming. I am definitely doing that again. And I do like how maneuverable it is. I am quite a fan of like having nice maneuverable craft. I like that. Just needs more propulsion redundancy is the thing. Alright, so that's the Frostdrake. What's next? Icewind F-Variant. Alright, so this is the Icewind again, a late variant. This is late in the Steel Sovereigns campaign, and also saw some service in testing Plutono. It's exactly the same thing, except instead of high explosive, it has incendiary missiles, and a sweet paint job, if I say so myself. So let's go find this. So the incendiary warhead is like so. It goes sizzle sizzle. And the reason for that is because incendiaries are a lot better against heavy armor than high explosive damages. So let's go find a heavy armor lump. Do we have a heavy armor lump that is roughly the same cost as this? 121,000 materials. Alright, so let's go... What is something that hopefully won't kill us? 121. Let's go for an Osprey. How fast is this? This should be fine. Also, I don't know how much heavy armor the Osprey has. Let's just check. Block counter. Okay, that has a fair amount of heavy armor. It's actually a decent analogy. I'm not sure the missiles are going to get through the Osprey's interceptors, because Great Talons are generally pretty missile. Oh, they are. They are indeed. Right, sizzle sizzle. So this is the whole reason why the F-Variant is like something that uses a fair amount of heavy armor, can stand up to a lot of explosives. So you do want to burn it rather than blow it up, and it worked. I can attest that if you have a design that uses explosives, so it'll do great against the Deep Water Guard, it'll do well against the Lightning Hoods. Anything that uses wood or alloy, it's going to do pretty well against it. But once you get up to like the Great Talons and the Steel Striders and stuff like that, you're better off actually switching... maybe not the Steel Striders, because they are quite fond of the metal, so to speak. They're not as heavy armor bricky as, like, mainly the Great Talons and the Scarlet Dawn. Or in the case of the Steel Sovereigns custom campaign, just the, once the factions start trotting out their larger stuff, their stuff that has, like, a lot of heavy armor in them. That's when you set them on fire. So that's basically all this is. It's the Icewind again, but it burns things. So less icy, like, you know, ice can burn. We've already talked about the snowboarders. Alright, it's the crazy sled. Oh, the crazy sled. Oh boy. This is the best worst success of the whole campaign. This was the last thing I designed for Steel Sovereigns, because I was like, I didn't even really mean to use this in Steel Sovereigns, to be perfectly honest with you. I just was mucking about in the design and thinking, like, you know what, I need to practice building tanks. I simply must practice to build tanks, because I'd forgotten how to build tanks, assuming I ever knew at all. And so I was just trying a silly, stupid way of building a tank. If you've watched my video on how to build a good tank, where I collabed with RORSTEN VT, shout out to RORSTEN again, super cool guy, go like and subscribe to all his stuff, especially his Twitch streams. The thing is, I brought this out as an example of how not to do it, because, like, there's a lot of things that are wrong with this, because this is not a tank, this is a thrustercraft, cunningly disguised as a tank. So, in order to understand that, you A, have to see it move, and B, you have to look at its innards. So this is 157,000 materials worth of nonsense. So let's spawn in the Osprey again. And so immediately, This thing drives like absolute crazy. This is probably the fastest tank I've ever seen in From the Depths. I can't think of a faster one. It is outrunning missiles. It's a tank that outruns missiles, I hope you understand. So, how fast are we going? We're top speed 146 meters per second. I have seen it, I think I have seen it do faster, actually. Drives like mad. I'm not sure it's going to win this. And the shells it's shamelessly spamming is, of course, Hesh. And this is not 330mm Hesh. I believe this is... What is the gauge on this fella? What's the gauge on this fella? It's 225mm. Slightly faster, actually. So, let's have a look here. It is... Yeah, alright. So, gunpowder casing, emergency ejection defuse. Why does this have an emergency ejection defuse? I just remembered. Also, thank goodness for... Oh, that's why. That was my phone. Please ignore it. Alright, so again, apologies to the APS gurus. I was just like, I was in a mood of like, I don't care anymore. I was being silly. I was being very silly when I was building this, but at least all the clips are the same size. So they do have that going for me. So it's got this flat deck turret here, but the AI is in the turret. The thought behind here is that the turret is the most heavily armed part of the tank. That means that if it's in the turret, it means that it always has the thickest armor between the enemy, or whatever, at least whatever it's shooting at, and the AI. That was the plan. It actually seems to work, weirdly enough. It's like stupid, but it works. If it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. Why are you running away like that? This thing has real problems steering, by the way. It's too bloody fast. It does not steer well. It also has a rotten tendency to fly. And again, like, just to give you an idea how fast I made this. This is only version 17 of this, as opposed to the Snowboarder, which is on version 45, and, like, definitely I could have tweaked this thing a lot more. It needed a lot more tweaking, but it was pressed into service in a hurry. Like, you'll notice that's a theme with Steel Sovereigns, just like real life. Sometimes you just gotta make things go in a real hurry. Why the hell... Oh, boy. Why have I done this? Why have I sinned thusly? I could make this a lot better, but I'm not going to, because if I had to build this tank again, I would build it better, for sure. But yeah, you've noticed the body of the tank is... Well, help me. Oh, God, this thing makes me sick. The body of the tank is basically filled with custom jets. And so originally, when I was mucking around with this, I thought to myself, you know what? Custom jets are probably the best kind of power system for a tank, right? M1 Abrams style, you have a gas turbine. And then I thought to myself, hang on, wheels don't take that much power, we've got a lot of leftover juice here, why not use it to make the thing go fast? And I did. And now it goes too fast. So yeah, thrustercraft disguised as a tank. It's got horrible pitch control, actually... it's outside the lines of the map. Here's the thing, if nothing else, this is a very entertaining vehicle, based on how jank it is. It's in space. This thing is in space. This thing is stupid. It is in space. This thing is stupid, it is in space. Who's winning, even? The Osprey is winning, and that's entirely because this thing is so janky. Honestly, I love this thing, but it needs a lot more work if I were ever to use it in a campaign ever again. And probably I should actually learn how to build a proper tank. You know, something that isn't completely bat guano loco. But yeah, this has been a longer video than I expected. Jeez. If you've stuck with me this far, thank you so much. But now we get to the actual proper workhorse, my absolute favorite and best performing vehicle of this whole damn campaign. Yes, it's a canoe. You knew this was coming if you've been following the Steel Sovereigns campaign, and if you've been following my Platono testing. This is the queen of the fleet. Like, and really, it's like, honestly, the Icicle might be one of the best ships I've ever made, full stop, in terms of campaign use, simply because there's just a lot of things I ended up doing right, almost by accident. Firstly, the cost is about right. So, I am on record moaning about the Onyx Watch Alcazar, just to show you. Let's spawn in the Alcazar, actually, that'd be fun. Where is it? Hard. Or no, it's a medium design. I keep forgetting. So the Alcazar is roughly 300k, 300,000 materials, which means it is big enough to be a threat, it is big enough to be a problem, but it is affordable enough for the enemy to make lots of them. That is the Icicle. So, the Icicle is below 300,000 materials, but it is a fast glass cannon that is capable of being a danger to things much more expensive than it, provided it can kind of exploit their weaknesses a little bit. There are things that can kill this and kill this pretty easily, including... What the hell was it? There's a tank in the Platono campaign called the Anaconda. I think... Is it called the Anaconda? It's called the Green Anaconda, I believe. It is an amphibious tank that is roughly the same cost as the Icicle and murders her dead, because it just hard counters her. It's just armored enough to stand up to the Icicle's weaponry and kill it. But this craft, probably more than any other, just did really good service. It was really reliable, it could punch above its weight, it was just durable enough to take a beating while dishing it in return, and I think it's really mauling that Alcazar. Yep, the Alcazar is already at 84% health. And let's go through the weapons one by one, starting from the stern. Firstly, it does have little missile interceptors there, and these are pulling double duty as anti-missile and anti-torpedo. That is a later upgrade, because this thing was never as torpedo-proof as I liked. The thing is a hydrofoil, but it does dip into the water more than the Frost does. It does have a noticeable torpedo signature. So if we go here, sonar detection range is just big enough for torpedoes to lock onto it, especially if it's the only thing in the water. So that is a problem. So yeah, moving back here, what we've got here, this is a later edition, the older version of the Icicle. These were Sea-Whiz guns. In fact, I could probably spawn in the old one, but like, actually yeah, we should do that. So let's go here. This is the upgrade. Like, this is the Icicle battlecruiser, like, finally named for what I was actually using her for. But I really originally called her a destroyer, so... Where is she? There she is. So, the old version of the Icicle looked like this. So, you'll notice it's got a tiny little gun there. That didn't really do much. It's got a pretty not very good AP frag gun there. The main gun is basically the same. This is where things get interesting. That used to be a cram cannon that was basically useless. But then it got switched out to this quite formidable 50mm AP heat gun. Is this AP heat on the old one? Yes, it is. It's just... It is heat seaward, so the heat doesn't really do anything to projectiles, but I am a huge fan of Sea-Whiz that pulls double duty, as in, when it's not shooting at the enemy, it's shooting down their projectiles, but when there's no projectiles to shoot, it can shoot at the enemy itself. So that's the part of the key to the Icicle's general usefulness, is that good active defenses, but those same active defenses can do a lot of damage. In fact, those little AP Sea-Whiz guns over on the final version over here was actually responsible for doing a hell of a lot of damage. So you'll notice it has two of them. And instead of those tiny little useless secondaries, what we've got here are diff guns. Like nice, nice, no muss, no fuss, 500mm APHE, big armor-piercing shells. These do a lot of damage. Lousy armor penetration, but they don't need it because 24,000 kinetic damage will get through most things. It'll get through at least one layer of heavy armor, that's for sure, and go kablooey inside something. And as an opening volley, that is very useful. It means that, I think there were more than a few fights where, like, the Icicle blew smaller ships in half. There was one particular thing that the Luishu Alliance, I think it was just called the... What was it? The Type 1, I think? Or Type 2? Those little ships regularly got, like, once this upgraded battlecruiser Icicle was introduced into service, those ships tended to get blown in half by these things, because these shells would go straight into the large ammo compartment, and, well, where there was one ship, then there were two. It was jolly good fun. But then moving on, we got this quite nasty 50mm AP heat seawers, so kinetic heat seawers again, super cav, shape charge, heavy head, very fast speed, almost 1600 meters per second, decent armor piercing, decent kinetic damage, but it just can poke through that extra layer of armor and like do terrible things to projectiles. And it has a very fast rate of fire, and there's 2 of them in this turret, and I think, yeah, there's 4 of them in... Hold on, let's see there. Is there 2? Alright, no. It's 2 APS systems here, but it's just 2 barrels, so... Yeah, so really good at shooting down, like, miscellaneous missiles and stuff like that. The main gun, I felt, was, like, it's kind of understated. These are... What are these? These are 8 meter long sabot frag. Honestly... sabot frag is kind of a compromise. I really should have put something else in here. I should have just had, like, you know, a 1 millimeter, like 1 meter HESH shells jammed in here, so this thing could do better against heavy armor. Because none of these, let's see, we've got about 6.9 RPM, 8.6, and wait, 8.6. Oh bollocks! This turret was never. Oh no! Oh no! This turret, it was never good. How did this happen, really? I don't know. This thing was supposed to be symmetrical. I only find out now when I'm bragging about this thing that its main turret was derpy from the start. Damn it! Anyway, this did okay, because that shell has better armor piercing than the other thing, about 56.2. Not full damage to heavy armor, and it really should have been. If you're gonna do something stupid, like have sabot frag, it should at the very least go through heavy armor and, like, put fragments into the squishy bits. That would make sense. So yeah, then we got another one of these, and another diff gun, more torpedo interceptors over here, and then we've got diff seaways here, late edition, and again, little superstructure. I believe that was a new thing, wasn't it? Nope, that was an old thing. That was an upgrade, definitely. I think... Did I stick that? I don't remember when I stuck diff seaways on there. But definitely what was an upgrade is that, again, in a very similar way to the Frost, this thing didn't originally have a hit scan weapon. In fact, hold on, let's see here. Did you... When did I add that on? Aha! There you go. So the old version of the Icicle did not have a laser. But it did have a lambs, just a token of the lambs, nothing amazing, just to zap the occasional shell here. Very bad lambs. I'm not proud of this lambs. This is my problem with laser systems, is that lambs in particular, I always forget about them, and then I'm like, oh damn it, this thing really needs a lambs, and then I improvise one of them in here, and it's just not very good. But yeah, so this little laser here, complete with, what the hell is in here? Oh, that's the... that's the local weapon controller. That thing did help fly swat stuff and was very useful. So it was a bad laser when it comes to fly swatting is better than no laser. That's the thing here. Also, again, spinny decoy, very, very helpful. This thing laughed at missile volleys. Like radar-guided missiles just went whee! In fact, if I hide this thing and I throw this against the palisade, you'll see what I mean. Where's the palisade? There it is. So immediately we open fire, the diff gun's missed. Uh-oh, you need a drive. You need a drive, my friend. You need a drive. Alright, so if those missiles come in, interceptors are launched. Whole bunch of them, little mini interceptors, yes I know. And the Sea-Wiz is having a field day. That is actually my benchmark for missile proofing. Is the thing proof against the Palisade? Because the Palisade just throws so many large missiles at you. In fact, against the Palisade, like, you can argue that the spinning decoy isn't even necessary, because it literally just shot down every single missile the Palisade had. And the Palisade is more expensive than the Icicle. Like, the power of wood, damn it. So yeah, what else can we talk about? Let's talk about the internals. The internals are very cramped. This is a skinny, skinny girl. And again, above surface propulsion, so this thing can unbeach itself if it gets beached. That happened a lot. She did run aground. There was one time, actually, when she was taking on a much larger ship, something armed with, like, plasma guns, where she deliberately beached herself behind it, like, out of the arc of fire of, the thing's guns. And, yeah, she won. The thing was, like, twice as expensive as her, but she managed to, like, shred it from behind. So, yeah. Jolly, jolly good ship. For she's a jolly good ship. For she's a jolly good ship. And if you want to play around with these, test against them, my first ever workshop collection is linked down in the description and pinned in the comments. So let me know what you think of the Pale Fleet. It was pretty successful. I beat, at least the test version of Plutono, when was it? Once. I think it was just once testing in Plutono, which is not a finished campaign, so, like, I don't know, take success of this fleet with a grain of salt. But it did beat Seal Sovereigns, which I wouldn't say... I don't think it's as hard as Neater, at least on Godly difficulty. I don't know, I haven't touched Neater for a while. But this was a pretty good fleet, and if nothing else, it demonstrates that, like, glass cannons are very effective. They're very cost-effective. In fact, I did a little bit of testing just before recording this video. Was it like 4 or... like, the number of icicles it takes to beat the Pyre, you know, one of the most dangerous things in Neater, is less cost than the Pyre. So, these things do punch above their weight, like Wooden Craft really do. RORSTEN VT was right this whole time. We should have listened. But anyway, this video is quite long. I don't know how I'm going to shorten this. I might have to split it up into 2. Like, if you're watching this right now, you will know, but I won't know. So, at the time of recording this, so time travel shenanigans, I guess. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. At the lowest tier, you get a Patreon-exclusive Discord. Middle tier, I name AI mainframes after you, and just name-drop you as much as I can. I really should get better at that. At the highest tier, I will build stuff for you, or do art for you if you don't want anything built for you at the moment. Do check out my other channels, especially my Twitch, because the last Plutono playtesting with the Pale Fleet was on there, just a series of streams. And do check out Steel Sovereigns. It gets better as it goes along, I feel. Aside from the second to last episode, in which, like, it is just madness and chaos and despair. Definitely not due to any AI treachery there. So, thank you all so much. Play with the Pale Fleet. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time in From the Depths. We can talk about my failures in the Pale Fleet. Farewell! So if you're wondering if the Pale Fleet is completely terrain-proof, I have bad news. They're not. They are apparently ghosts, though. Maybe I should have made them ghost-themed after all, because they're phasing straight through the trees.